Hello. Welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Chad Campbell.
And I'm Mike Carron.
Before we get to today's film, we'd like to invite you to check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.screamsandstreams.com. Just a warning, in the podcast, we do jump around in the plot as we talk about the film. If you don't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now. Check out the film and rejoin us after our discussion. Today, we are looking at Theodore Gershuny, 1970s film, Silent Night, Bloody Night. It scored 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, and this is our Christmas edition.
Yeah, and holy shit.
Wow. I mean, wow. Let's get into it. Okay, so Mike's going to give us our summary here.
Happy birthday, Jesus. I hope you like shit. All right. I'm going to read two plot summaries because the first one is concise but does not describe the movie that we watched. A man inherits a mansion which once was a mental home. He visits the place and begins to investigate some crimes that happened in old times, scaring the people living in the region.
What?
Yeah, there are words in there that match what we saw. This one's a little longer, but it does make the film make a bit more sense. Wilford Butler returns home on Christmas Eve, and his house has been turned into a mental institution for the criminally insane. That is inaccurate, but whatever. But the day of his return, he is set on fire and dies.
Oh my God! But the day of his return, he is set on fire and dies.
The townspeople believe his death was an accident. And the institution house is later closed down. Wilford leaves the house to his grandson, Jeffrey. A few years later, Jeffrey finally decides to sell his grandfather's house. The townspeople, including the mayor, have mixed feelings on keeping people away from the house, especially when a serial killer escapes from another institution and finds refuge there. The killer makes frightening phone calls and kills anyone coming near the house. But what does the killer have in common with what happened to Wilford Butler years before?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. So I'm going to ask Mike, after those two plot summaries, to please give us your first impression of this film.
Holy shit. This is a bad movie. There's so many problems with it. It was not enjoyable to watch. It's confusing. It's misguided. I thought we had another amusement park on our hands where you would be texting me to be complaining about it while we watched it.
Oh, man, I almost did. I did text you. I was like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
Like,
And I believe my response was, buckle up, buckaroo.
You're in for a ride. I was, oh, my God. I was like,
yeah, and I think I did text you with, I'm watching Silent Night, Bloody Night. I'm sorry.
You did text me that, yeah.
I don't, like, we're gonna crap all over this film, and so I'm not going to spend too much time.
But don't turn this off yet.
Yeah. We are going to get into why this movie wasn't very good, and so I'm just going to say for now, first impression, only impression, it was not enjoyable, not even worth watching.
Yeah. I think I in my notes, I wrote down 14 minutes in, holy, this movie is shit. Everything that Mike said, it's confusing. The characters aren't developed. You don't even know who the characters are. Acting's bad. Looks like they're reading from cue cards. There's a scene where this lawyer is being introduced to a town council, and every single one of them just read their lines.
Yeah.
It's so hard to watch. It was painful. It took me 2 days. I fell asleep. I woke up. And I had to rewatch the last 30 minutes. It's really not engaging. We'll get into it when we get into our categories. We'll start to break down why this movie didn't work, but it really didn't. As we move on, we will go into our categories. And the first one is Tropes Hall of Shame. My first one is the fact that the house was an asylum. Asylum people breaking out, killing people, I think has been done maybe not so much in 1972, but by today's standards, we're looking at something that's been done to death.
Yeah.
So I was just ho-hum not scary, don't care.
That was my first trope as well, which is the, hospital for the criminally insane and someone escapes. And we see that in so many better ways in films coming up in the 70s.
Yes.
That this is just a poor facsimile of that motif or theme.
Yep. No, I totally agree. It's been done to death and been done better.
Yes.
Even later on.
Yeah.
We still see the same thing. Insane people kill people. Yes, but it's done better.
Yeah.
The other thing is the first 10 minutes of this film is all voiceover. Or is it 10 or 14? Like, I think that's why I said it's shit. I texted you at one point and I said, is this whole movie a voiceover? Because it just goes on what seems like forever.
I made a note about it at the first 5 minutes and it still didn't get to dialogue. And I don't know how much farther it is where that is one of my things for the next category.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
Didn't mean to bust it, but yeah.
It is terrible. It's so bad. And it's terrible voiceover.
Oh, it's so deadpan and boring to listen to. It just drives me crazy.
The house was a lonely place on the hill where nobody went to. And he came home. Oh, yeah, I'll stop because no one's appreciating that.
Listening to children's theater. Mike, you had another trope?
Yeah, my next one is spending the night in a house.
Oh, yeah.
It's either with an inheritance. In order to inherit the house, you must spend the night.
Right.
This one is the lawyer wants to buy the house or someone wants to buy the house.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, we'll just spend the night there before we finalize the sale. And it's like, I wonder what will happen.
You can spend the night in a hotel. It's best you stay in the hotel.
We have rooms at the Paradise Motel.
Yes. Yeah.
In this tiny little like podunk middle of nowhere town.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if I would stay in the motel in that town either, though.
Well, yeah, who knows, right? But you're right. The whole let's stay in the house the night of where weird things have happened. My other one kind of piggybacks on that. It's the evil house the town wants to get rid of. Things have happened there and they're like, oh, don't go to that house. It's on the hill. It's very far away from the rest of the town. So the house being evil is my trope.
My last trope is lawyers are bad. He comes in, he's like, I want to buy this house. We're offering $50,000. And he doesn't do anything really offensive, aggressive. He's just like, no, I'm buying this house. Like, are you sure you want to buy it? Yes, my client's sure he wants to buy it or sell it. Yeah. And it's all that. And then he leaves. And it's like, all these lawyers, you just can't trust them. This is what they do. And it's like, he didn't do anything bad at that point. He does something bad in the next scene we see him when he, but at that point, he's just a guy who wants to buy a house.
Well, he's selling the house, right?
Oh, he's selling. Yeah,
because it was left to Jeffrey Butler, his grandson, and he is representing him.
Right. Yes.
And he wants to sell the house for $50,000. Now he's saying, oh my gosh, this is a steal of a deal because you could get $250,000, which in 1972 in some podunk town, I'm not sure you could get $250,000 for that house.
Right.
But he says that's what he wants. And then the town council, which makes up of the mayor, the sheriff,
the town operator,
and some guy that rings a bell that runs the Gazette.
Yeah.
Are all the big wigs of this town. And they're making the decision. So they're like, oh, we'll get your money. Yeah. $50,000 for this house. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, see, that's how confused I am. I can't even remember who's doing what in this movie because it doesn't really matter.
Well, it doesn't matter and nothing really connects. Like they just kind of make stuff up as they go. Yeah. Things don't really,
It's like we just needed to introduce people not of the town just to drive this, just to have another victim or something.
Yeah, and those are the only townspeople you see. You don't see anybody else. The lawyer and his mistress, I think.
Yeah, because that's what I was referring to. He phones his wife.
Yes.
Talks to his daughter.
Yeah, he's a creepy dude.
And then the wife comes on the line and he's like, no, things are good. No, I'm just here.
Yeah.
And then I scratched this up. It's like, he does say, what do you mean hostile? And then hangs up.
And hangs up pretty aggressively. Not Robert De Niro beating the hell out of it, but just just mad. And then he goes out to his mistress.
Yeah. But at that point, I'm like, he wasn't being hostile on the phone. But she's suspecting he's cheating. And he is.
Yes.
Yeah. You said that that's the only townspeople we see, but we do see one, and it was a trope that I struck through because I'm like, I don't need to bring it up again. But we do have a redhead sheriff's deputy.
Really?
Yeah, at the sheriff's station, there is a deputy at one point.
Oh, that guy that's reading the magazine?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's reading a magazine sideways.
You think it's a porno.
Yeah.
You think he's looking at a Playboy or a centerfold.
Yeah. It's a sports magazine. He's like, oh, they got that quarterback there real good.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. All right. We're going to go into our next category, which is one-liners. I'm going to kick this one off. My first one-liner for this one was... it's from The Killer. It's later on in the film, and he captures, this could go into, didn't hold up, but he catches Tess, who is the phone operator. She's at the house.
Yeah.
And he says, you look older now and fat.
Ooh.
And like the way he talks to her, he's had some kind of relationship with this woman.
I guess so, yeah.
And he actually, I have a note that says, why is he talking so seductively to Tess?
Yeah.
Because he said, I will help you. This killer speaks in this dark whisper every time he calls him. And he calls her to the house. She comes to the house, which is just dumb.
Yeah.
And then he says all this stuff to her. And I didn't write all the stuff he says down to her, but it's very like, we were together once or whatever. And then he says, but you look older now and fat. And I was like, okay.
Well, and they often refer to, Tess has gone to the house. She's always wanted to see the inside. She's always wanted to see the house. She's never seen the house. It's like, this house has been around for 20 years empty.
Yeah, but also didn't they say she hates that house? She would never go to that house? Yeah. She hates that house? Yeah.
And we find out why later.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't connect.
And no, that's one of the big problems of this film is they say things in one scene and it doesn't connect to the other scene and the characters don't match up. It's clunky and it's framed wrong and there's just so much wrong with this film. All right, Mike, what's your one-liner?
I struggled, and the only line I could come up with, and the only reason I wrote it down is because it's the first time someone finally speaks. So it's not even a good line.
Right. You're just, thank God there's dialogue.
So it's just, stop and look serious, please. And then she takes his picture. I literally...
Oh my God, that's the line you wrote?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Like it's embarrassing. It's like, what's a great line in this movie? It's not a great line. No. It's not a memorable line. I was legitimately worried the entire film was going to be voiceover.
I was too.
Especially, there's something I'm going to talk about later, but it gave no indication there was going to be dialogue.
Yeah.
This movie felt like it was for the visually impaired, where it's like the descriptive audio, where they just describe everything that's happening.
And he walks into the room.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was going to become.
He's surprised. I thought the same thing. I was very worried, but then they spoke, and then I was even more appalled. So
the dubbing is terrible.
The dubbing is horrible. So that leads into my second one-liner, which isn't actually one line. It is 3 lines spoken between Diane and Jeffrey. This is the first time Diane, who is the mayor's daughter, meets Jeffrey. He knocks on her door, and she grabs a gun and says, come in. He enters, and she's pointing this gun at him. And then I can't remember what's said up to the lead up to this, but she says, that's why I'm carrying a gun. You scare me. Jeffrey says, I can understand that. She says, thanks. And it's literally said like that. That's why I'm carrying a gun. You scare me. I can understand that. Thanks. There's no emotion in this scene where she's supposed to be afraid of this guy that's coming in. She's ready to shoot him. It's just done so poorly.
Yeah.
At one point, they're having a conversation. We're doing over-the-shoulder shots back and forth of this conversation. And one time, I think they just get lazy and they decide to shoot Jeffrey the whole time. She's speaking and Jeffrey's in the frame.
Right.
Saying nothing, just looking at her. And I was like, why aren't we seeing her doing the stuff?
Or him reacting, but he doesn't react.
He doesn't react. He's deadpan. He's just looking at her. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, that was my second one. And I'll tell you, man, those are the best of the lines.
I actually did have one more.
Well, go ahead.
But it's the last line of the film where Diane hasn't had any interaction with this house.
Oh,
she has nothing with it. But then in this one night, she goes in. Somehow she's become overly attached to Jeffrey.
Yep.
So she's upset that he dies. Her father does get killed in the house.
Yep.
So there is some traumatic experience, but not a significant one. But this line is like, and now a year later, They will tear down Wilford Butler's monument, but they can never destroy my memories of what happened there. Yeah. I never got that because it's like, you mean that one night? Like, yeah, your dad, like, I know.
But she wasn't involved in all the dark history that happened before, which we'll get to later. She wasn't involved in any of that.
No. And so it's like, when you have that power of what actually happened in that house, it's like, girl, you had one night. Yeah, your dad died. And you lost the guy that you met 4 hours earlier. It's like the Obi-Wan Kenobi connection. Like, he's everything.
Yeah. My world just blew up.
My favorite is Jeffrey and her dad shoot each other.
Yes.
She runs to her dad. He's clearly dead. Jeffrey groans. So she's like, well, and she runs over Jeffrey. Jeffrey. Yeah. It's like, your dad is there. Like,
I know. Yeah. I know. And that guy just killed your dad.
Yeah.
The guy you met that you were holding a gun to before.
Right.
Just shot your father and you're running to him.
Yeah.
And there was no indication that they were in love.
No, not at all. No. She's like, you scare me. And I think that's because the first time we see him is, okay, so when we see the lunatic escape the asylum, he's driving the car and in his right hand is like a monkey wrench.
Right.
He's steering while driving. I'm like, well, put the wrench down. You'll steer better. And we then see the black glove. We didn't mention the black glove, but there's the black glove in this one.
Black glove, yeah.
And then when Jeffrey is introduced, he's wearing a black glove, holding a tire iron in the same right hand. Like, are we supposed to maybe associate him with the escaped lunatic?
Right.
And he's trying to flag down Diane as she's driving by in her vehicle. She just drives right past because, like, yeah, there's a guy with a tire iron waving at me on the side of the road. I'm not stopping.
Yeah.
He then turns, she looks in her mirror and sees him smashing the windows of the car. Right. Huh. That's how she meets him or sees him. So when she's like, got a gun, she's like, you scare me. And he's like, I understand. It's like, yeah, because you just for no reason beat the shit out of a car.
The windows of this car. Yeah.
But again, like, that's another reason why she should not be attracted to this guy.
Yeah.
But loses her mind when he's dead, doesn't really grieve her father at all.
No. Drops him like a hot potato. Just no. And Jeffrey's hurt.
Jeffrey. Yeah. So that's why I wrote this line down, because it just was like so incongruous with everything else. Like, a year later, she should have no, like, why is she even there to see the house being torn down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why does it take a year?
Yeah.
Like, she says a year later, this house will be torn down.
It had to clear escrow. I don't know.
The other thing, can we just talk for a minute how that guy escapes the asylum? Is that just not the most ridiculous thing you ever saw? He just runs out the front door with a monkey wrench? How the hell did he get a monkey wrench?
Bashes everyone away from a car.
Just sweeps them away. Nurses, cops, doesn't matter. Just hitting people with this monkey wrench. Hops in this car that's just available. Drives it away, and nobody comes to chase him.
And then it cuts to Diane driving a police car with its siren going.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, the lunatic escaped in a white car. Why are the police chasing a Jaguar at this point?
Yes.
That's like a gold Jaguar. She turns off. Police car goes off shot, and we just follow her.
But why aren't they chasing the guy that just beat everybody up at the hospital?
Nope.
No, we want to focus on Diane as she goes home to rest. Yeah, because she does absolutely nothing until Jeffrey comes to the house.
Right. So that's the scene where she's driving and then she drives past Jeffrey.
Right. Yeah. Well, then we get introduced to those idiots, but that could have been done later. Anyways, good Lord. The escape scene is crazy. Yeah.
The POV. The most erratic camera ever.
It's like modern warfare with a monkey wrench. Yeah, you just hitting people.
It's absolutely a first-person shooter
game.
It
is. It's total first-person shooter.
By someone that doesn't know the controls.
We're going to go into our next category, which is what doesn't hold up. Mike, you're going to kick us off with this one. What doesn't hold up for you?
The whole film.
Yeah, there we go.
I came up with 6. This film was lousy and lousy with what doesn't hold up.
Lousy.
But it's good to get into the specifics. And the first one we've already talked about, but it is that, like, I wrote first 5 minutes, only voiceover. And then we see a funeral for the guy that, like, came out of that house burning alive. And at the funeral, there's an old man, stands up, approaches another old man in the scene, smiles. I'm like, yes, someone's going to talk. No, just smile sympathetically and cut away. I was like, oh, God damn it.
At least say sorry for your loss or whatever.
Just a word to let me know someone's going to talk eventually. It's all I wanted at that point. That's my first doesn't hold up. My next one, they never explain it, but there's a board member played by John Carradine or Charlie Tobin who just rings a bell in this board meeting. The lawyer's talking, he ding, rings the bell, and they're like, hold on, and like they ignore him. Like, why is he? They don't explain why he's ringing the bell, why he's unable to speak, but he keeps ringing this goddamn bell. Yeah, and it's a weird character trait, and I think an unnecessary one because they never explain why he's speechless.
Yeah, no, I agree. At least in Breaking Bad, they showed you why he was ringing the bell. It's like once for yes, two for no, or whatever it was. But in this one, he just rings the bell. Yeah, and you're like, I don't know what that means.
And if you're gonna give your character an unusual trait or an interesting character trait, you have to explain why.
Yes,
right. You can't just be like, he's gonna ring a bell. Why? Who cares?
Yeah, yeah. Because his line delivery sucks, so we're just not going to have it. Who knows? Maybe he actually does need to. Maybe he's a mute and can't speak.
But they should say something.
But they should definitely let you know what's going on with that guy. Yeah, for sure. I even put that in one of my notes. I said, how the heck does he run a newspaper? Yeah, with just ringing a bell? Because he's the owner of the small town Gazette or whatever.
Right.
All right. Well, I have a couple. The lawyer scene when he and his mistress are first in the house, she's basically serving him and he's telling her all the things about wine and all the things about this and all the things. He's just so informative and so knowledgeable about everything. He plays the organ, he sings, and she's, oh, my man is so talented. It's just exhausting and it's so bad.
It was a creepy relationship
It was really, really creepy. I didn't like him. I didn't like her. Yeah. I thought they had no chemistry. No. If they were in love or he was, in love with her rather than his wife, I didn't buy it. Yeah, it was just poorly done. And that's the actors. They just were garbage. Yeah. So that was my first. Mike, you got a couple more?
Yes. My next one is, it's now evening and the police officer is driving through the countryside. He's heading to the Butler house. He sees a light at the graveyard. Mm-hmm. So he stops to investigate. And I can't say this enough. It is nighttime. It is pitch black. The only light in this graveyard is one lantern and his headlights.
Oh, a graveyard at night.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even touch that one.
We talked about that in another scene, but there wasn't fog in this one.
There was not fog, no. But he's wearing his sunglasses. He gets out of his car with a flashlight to go see who's been disturbing this graveyard. And he's wearing sunglasses.
Well, he wears his sunglasses at night. So he can.
The best part is I wrote down, doesn't hold up. Why is the cop wearing sunglasses at night? And as I wrote that, I'm like, Chad's going to finish the line. And then my other one is, this one's a weird one, but it's more of I don't know if it's a doesn't hold up or if it's more just a picking threads kind of thing. But when Tess arrives at the house, she's standing outside of the cop car.
Yep.
Did she drive a cop car to the house?
No.
So how did the cop car get there?
I don't know.
Okay. Because all we see is her standing beside the cop car. She looks at it. She looks up at the house and then she walks in. And I was like, the inconsistencies in this film. I know that's not really a true doesn't hold up because it's just poor editing, but it threw me. And as uninvested as I was in this film, it drew me out even more. Yeah. Because I had to stop and think and go back. I'm like, did I miss something? Did I look away?
Well, and the other thing that bothered me about that whole scene was like, they keep saying about how she hates the house but then she goes there, she sees this cop car that's just sitting there and then she's looking and wondering and then she goes in. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't buy it. Yeah. Yeah. My other one, I had one that the effects were bad. Yes. And the camera work was shoddy. So those were the two things that didn't hold up for me. I thought the blood when eventually the lawyer and the mistress are we talking about this later or are we?
You do this to me every fucking
episode. I'm sorry. I always
it's my one test of time.
Okay, never mind. I won't talk about it. I just thought the effects and the camera work were bad. I shit on the stuff that you like. I didn't mind the death scene. The death was okay. I thought the blood looked like syrup.
Oh, okay,
is my only complaint about that.
Right.
I think if the blood would have looked a little more real, it really would have sold it. The death scene itself with the axe and stuff, I was like, whoa, that's pretty intense. But the blood to me didn't look
It was syrupy.
great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that was my last doesn't hold up.
My last two both revolve around the flashback to what actually happened in the Butler house.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, at the end there? Yeah.
So this is where we find out that the Butler house was an insane asylum. And for whatever reason, the doctors ran it like a Hollywood party where they're just
partying,
debauchery and doing whatever they want. And I almost put this down for gratuitous, but I didn't. But they sit around the table just ha 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 for 3 minutes. I think it was 3 minutes of screen time. Nobody's talking. They're all just laughing. I'm like, I don't ever want to be at a party where no one talks. They all just laugh. It's either got to be the funniest joke we're still laughing about or the worst party because no one wants to say anything. But Diane has a voiceover in that scene.
Oh, of course she does.
She just has the softest, most deadpan delivery. And she's talking about this like mistreatment of patients and the sexual assault of a minor by these doctors and her father.
Right.
And it's just like, and this was a terrible time when, and it doesn't meet the tone or match the tone at all.
Well, the person, I'm sorry, but the person who played Diane is a terrible actress in this film. If she continued her career, I hope she got better. But this is just there's no emotion in any of the lines delivered by her. Yeah. And it's all just poorly done.
And then the other part around that flashback, and I don't know if it has to do with just the quality of the film and the scan to the HD, but I couldn't understand why when the inmates finally get released and they go and like get their revenge on the doctors,
right?
Their heads are all blacked out.
Really?
Yeah, it's this weird. Whenever their faces come on the screen, it just goes black. So you have all these sort of black dots. And I don't know if it was the lighting, the digital scan, or an intentional choice, but it just seemed really weird. And I couldn't figure out the point of that.
Right.
It was always like, we're protecting the anonymity of the people, or it didn't work. And
yeah, we're going to go into our next category, which is gratuitous. So I am going to take the lead on this one. And my most gratuitous scene is anytime Diane is on this film. Oh. She just takes me out of anything that's happening. Her acting is so awful that I just cannot buy anything she's saying or anything she's doing. Her lines are written shoddy, so nothing connects. I don't believe anything she's saying. I don't care about anything she's saying. Jeffrey's another one. Anytime those two are together, it's just death. Like they don't have any chemistry. This whole movie felt like they were reading it as they were doing it.
Yeah.
There was no emotion, no real stakes. There wasn't anything that I could buy into.
No direction given whatsoever. No,
it was just like, have at her.
What's my motivation? Just to read the line. Your motivation is to get through to this period.
You're scared of him. Go. I'm scared of you. Thanks. Okay, whatever. So that was my gratuitous. It was just so bad that I couldn't buy the film.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree. She was disruptive to the enjoyment as much as a lot of the other elements were.
Yes.
Yeah. My first gratuitous is, I guess I have to phrase this differently, but I was like, the blood in the axe murder scene, Jesus, well done on the color. But you're right. By the end of the death scene, it was clearly syrup and it was very poorly done.
Yeah.
But they're in bed. The murderer comes in and starts swinging the axe. And there's a flash to a shot where you just see the two victims and they are soaked in red.
Yes. No, that actually, I will agree. I did say in one of my notes, I was like, well, axe murder, they die right away. Wow. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
Yeah. And looking at this film, like it was released in 1972 and we've had that consistent complaint of the blood is simply red paint.
Yeah.
And so I think that moment, that frame, that like half a second for me shocked me because the coloring was right and it was so much blood. But then towards the end of it, when it starts dripping and they're showing the running, it's like, oh, you ruined your effect. I agree. It didn't hold up, but
that initial look. And the other thing that sold it, it was the only time I saw real emotion coming out of these actors.
Yeah.
They were screaming. They were in pain. They were writhing. And it was actually okay.
Yeah.
He hit him with the axe. And, whoa, what's going on? like, I actually thought the lawyer, and I didn't know about the mistress. I thought the mistress was going to eat it, but I thought the lawyer was going to be a little more involved.
Yeah.
Because of the way they set him up at the beginning. But yeah, it was, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the blood didn't.
By the end of the scene, it had lost its effect. But that flash, I was, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my other gratuitous is just the number of birds at Tess's house.
Oh God, yes. Okay, I got to double up on that. Yeah, that was insane. And the fact they tweeted the whole scene.
Oh my God. Yeah. I sit on a committee with somebody, and during COVID, when we had to do it from home, he has budgies. And every time he talks, like, you have to really strain because they are so loud. The microphones pick up their the whole time. Is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So watching that scene was like these flashbacks to like the PTSD of these online meetings where it's like, oh, he's going to talk again. Get ready for the birds.
The birds.
But then, like, she has what, 5-6 cages of birds with multiple birds in the cages.
Oh, lots. Yeah. Yeah.
And all I could think of was the smell.
Oh,
Like, no matter how often she's cleaning, those birds are shitting and molting. That house must just reek. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Just disgusting. Okay. Now we're going to move on to stood the test of time. So I have nothing for this. I thought nothing worked. So Mike's going to give his 1.
I have 1, and only because I actually appreciated seeing this in the film. And it's when Jeffrey and Diane drive up to the house, and Jeffrey goes into the house to see what's happening, what's going on.
Right.
And she's left in the car. She looks left, she looks right, and then she locks all 4 car doors.
Right.
And I was like, hey, finally someone that does the right thing in a horror movie.
Right.
I put, unlike so many other horror movies.
Yeah. That's
true. It.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that stood the test of time, is that finally we have somebody who locks the doors. I don't know how many times you watch a horror movie where they run into the car, they don't lock it, and then all of a sudden they're scrambling to lock it when the attacker comes.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, good job. That is the one thing I liked in this film.
Well, and the other thing is she does look for the keys because she's looking to make sure if she has to get away. Then she's, oh, he took the keys. And as soon as she said that, I was like, why did he even speak? Yeah. There's the camera shot is on where the ignition is. We don't need your voice.
Well, the best part is just like, oh, he took the keys. At no point is there a rush to drive away and she's keyless. So you don't need to show the odds. Like, just have her sit there, lock the doors, and then she goes into the house when things escalate. Yeah. Like, never does not having keys come into it.
No.
Yeah.
No, I think they probably had a scene that maybe they wanted to do, and then probably not. It's just poorly done.
Poorly done.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're moving on to eerie to ear splitting. I'm going to start with eerie. You know, the only thing that I thought worked in this film was the Silent Night organ slow rendition of it.
Oh, okay.
So they play Silent Night during the opening credits, and it's this slow, kind of dark version of Silent Night. And they play it throughout the film, and I thought that worked. I thought that was eerie.
Yep.
For me, anyways. Mike, how about yourself?
My eerie to ear splitting does have to do with the first 3 minutes of the film and the opening credits, because I'm like 3 minutes into the film and we've already had 4 separate pieces of music. We had the church organ when Wilford Butler goes into the house and gets burned alive.
Yeah.
We have eerie strings of like tension.
Yeah.
We have Silent Night sung by a child.
Yeah, that one didn't work for me.
Didn't work for me either. It was like creepy. And then we do have the orchestra / creepy organ rendition of Silent Night.
Right.
But I was just sitting there listening like, this is the 4th piece of music.
They really hit you heavy on the music in here. Yeah. For me, ear splitting was absolutely everything else in the film. However, I think the most ear splitting part was the bird sound effects. So when the lawyer and the mistress first enter the town's hall, he looks up and all these birds, which I don't get, all these birds are flying around, and that's not a bird sound. Like whatever they have going on there is something else.
It reminded me of Birdemic.
Yeah.
Like the
like
almost like raptor
just kind of they're trying to piece something together there.
Yeah.
And I didn't get why they drew reference to that so many times. There were like 3 separate shots of these birds flying around.
I remember thinking that, and I think I was just gave up. But yeah, right. Yeah, that was so weird. I don't have an answer for you.
And it never came back.
No.
And then the only other reference to birds was when they went to Tessa's house and they found all these birds in Tessa's house.
Yeah.
And then Jeffrey kills one of them.
He just reaches into the cage.
We never actually see him kill it, but he reaches into the cage and grabs it very aggressively.
Yeah.
It grabs it and pulls it towards the opening to where you think, it reminds me of Dumb and Dumber, where the gangster grabs the budgie and like rips his head off. And we never see anything about that. So I don't get it, but the audio effect for the birds was super annoying.
Yeah.
And ear splitting. And then the music on top of it. Yep. All right, so now we're going to head into our last category where we go into back it up moments. I had none. I did not want to see any part of this film again. So, Mike, did you have any?
I did not have one either. I was like, I need to pick something because we have to have something for each category. And I'm like, nope, this is the first movie where I'm just washing my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought about it. I was like, maybe that could be a back it up moment. Maybe that could. But really, I guess if you wanted to see the couple get murdered again, but that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So
it's not even done well enough to be like, you should go back and watch.
No.
Because like as good as the blood was, it's not a back it up because we've seen that blood splattered victim ad nauseum.
And it's been done better in so many other films. The fact that it's the only good part of this film makes it like not okay to back it up to see again.
No.
Yeah, there was just no point in this film that I wanted to see again.
Nope.
So now we're going to go into bonus features where we do our research here. So, Mike, do you have anything you would like to say for our bonus features?
I have a few things. I went to the Rue Morgue website and they had an interview with Matthew C. Dupree, who wrote some books on some old slashers and some horror films. And just some of the things that came up in the interview. This movie was shot in 1970, released in 1972.
Right.
But it was the coldest winter on record when it was filmed.
Ooh.
Again, like I think we're just looking for things that make it interesting. The budget is impressive. It was, $225,000, which is 1.6 million US in today's dollars.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know where the money went. Dupree talks about how elements like the killer's POV, harassing phone calls, the killer's black gloves are all elements that have been so effectively embraced by the horror genre and Italian giallo films from that era.
Okay.
And it's like, yeah. So even the interviewer's like, these tropes make it interesting.
Right. Yeah. This is why you should see this film.
Yeah. I do like this one because we chose this film because we thought, we're releasing an episode on December 23rd. We've got to do a holiday horror. And so we went with, we're doing the 70s. What's one from the 70s? Silent Night, Bloody Night comes up. Okay. And Conritz and Teller, the writers, could not recall why they set this story over Christmas, nor does Christmas come into it at all.
Ever.
Other than the lawyer gives his mistress a small wrap package and Diane is trying to wrap a bird cage at one point. So she's giving more birds to test ?
Oh my God. Yeah. He gives her a present and then she's like, can I open it? And he says, no, you have to. Our Christmas is 2 days from now or something. Yeah.
But I'll give it to you now, but don't open it. Like, it was so weird.
Yeah.
Like he says, I'm going to go to the car to get cigarettes. Comes back. He's like, these cigarettes come in really small packages.
Yeah.
But don't open it. I have a couple others from Rue Morgue if you want me to keep.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
So the producer of this film is Lloyd Kaufman, and he was the co-founder of the Troma films. So like Toxic Avenger, Hollywood Zap, Class of Nukem High.
Okay. Yeah.
There's some pedigree in this film.
Yeah.
This one's just weird, but in the black and white scene, so the flashback to what happened in the asylum, chocolate syrup was used as blood.
Okay.
But Lloyd Kaufman apparently is like a chocolate syrup addict, and he would just guzzle syrup in between takes.
What?
Yeah.
What a weird thing to be addicted to.
Yeah. Or just a fanatic. It was a fanatic. But I just love the idea, like, we're using this as blood, right?
Yeah. He starts drinking it. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
One of the things I found interesting was James Patterson, the guy who played Jeffrey Butler, died of cancer several months after the production was complete, and his lines were dubbed by another actor. So there was a point in this film where I thought the actor's lines were being dubbed.
Right.
And it's true. They were because, he couldn't do them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a website called The Critical Eye, and it talks about the HD re-release of the film. And I just love this one line because it's like, I feel ya. God, I still remember how bored I was watching it for the first time. But then they go on to talk about how great the movie was and how much they like it now. And I'm like, I don't see myself going back in 20 years thinking this was so good.
No, apparently it actually... I just found this little tidbit. After leaving the drive-in circuit in the early 1970s, the movie fell into public domain and it remained obscure until the mid-80s when it appeared on Movie Macabre, 1981. Afterward, it became and developed into a cult classic. Apparently, it has quite a little following.
It was on an episode of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of the movies she presented on her TV show. Yeah,
interesting.
On EOF TV review website, it just talked about how this is an early release for Canon Films.
I read that as well.
I just wrote down some of the great films from their 80s era because if you went to the video store in the 80s, you saw some of their films. Enter the Ninja, Death Wish 2 and 3.
Oh, I loved Enter the Ninja.
Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, Bolero, Missing in Action 1 and 2, if not 3.
What?
Life Force and Cobra.
Cobra?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved Cobra too.
Their list of films just goes on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've got some stinkers and they've got some nostalgically good films in their catalog as well.
Nostalgically good way to put that. Yeah. All right. At that point, I think we'll wrap up our bonus features. So we're going to go into our watchability scale. So, Mike, what would you rate this on a watchability scale?
We don't have a 0. I'm giving it a 1. It's not worth going to. It's not worth looking at.
Yeah, I'm there too. Yeah, it's a 1 for sure. Since we don't have a 0. Yeah, because there's just nothing really redeemable about this film. In fact, I was annoyed that I had to spend an hour and a half trying to watch it. Comes in at an hour and a half. I bet you if you were to re-edit it, you could have come in at 45 minutes.
Yeah.
The explanations are so long. There's times where you're just like, I don't know why we're still on this scene. It's not developing at all.
Well, and you could completely remove the voiceover.
Yep.
And the movie would make just as much sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. You could have just... I thought it was so funny when that guy came running out of there on fire. That was laughably bad.
He burned for so long,
so long and screamed for so long. I at one point I said, okay, if you're in a full-on blaze like that, you are not still screaming.
Well, he never saw Webster stop, drop, and roll.
That's right. Yeah.
It was funny because I was watching it like, wow, this guy's running for a while. Now he's crawling. And I was like, how long do these burn suits protect the stunt double or the stunt person? But then I was like, well, maybe they did multiple takes of the burning because it just kept going and
it went on and on and on. And then they pan into the house and that old lady's playing the organ
and he's still burning.
I was like, this is the longest burn ever for
I missed what was being said in the voiceover because I was still looking out the window.
Watching it burn. And you're just like, this is weird.
Yeah.
All right. On that note, as we close this episode out, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to us. Be sure to check us out on Instagram. We are at ScreamStreamPod. Stop by our website, www.screamsandstreams.com, where we have information about our episodes, descriptions of our categories, links to our research, our watchability scale, and our suggestion page where you can recommend movies that you think we should talk about. Please subscribe to, rate, and comment on our shows on any of the platforms where you get your podcasts. Until next time, this has been Chad and
Mike.
Scare you later.